Okay, this is try number 3 or 4. I don't really know. Um, I've been kicked off of live multiple times now, so we'll see if this one stays up. It's let me for a couple minutes and then it just keeps kicking it. So I'm on the phone with Robert. We were talking about what happened yesterday in court and what his thoughts are. It is still a possibility for it to get appealed through the district court, and that's what we were just talking about, is that through the district court, it will actually go in front of a different judge. And so I'm pretty optimistic about that because I think that's the biggest problem right now is that specific judge. The other thing that we had talked about was how the judge read off all his charges, and that's where Robert was right now, is just discussing kind of a rundown of what those charges were and how it's interesting that she chose his juvenile record, even though she said she was going to leave the juvenile record off. Did I miss anything, Robert?
Well, it's technically not my juvenile record. It was when I was a minor, though.
Okay.
Because I was technically tried as an adult. And see, here's the thing: is that I didn't see it at the time, but Melanie said afterwards, and so did Susan, that it kind of seemed like she was basically trying to tell my supporters that were there that I was just a bad guy. I'm a career criminal type thing. But if you look at the record, back in '97, '98. I had those charges, and then I don't have any charges until '07, and then I had a DUI. Then I don't have any charges, except, traffic stuff, is like she kept saying. And then it starts again in like 2014, 2015, 2016, somewhere around there is when charges start. And that's that's when I start protesting. And yeah, disturbing the peace because I play Christian music outside of CPS at my monthly protest, and injury by graffiti because everybody agrees that there was no injury and it's not graffiti. That doesn't matter. That's just the title of the charge for me chalking on sidewalks.
So all of the charges that she listed off do kind of one that you have right now as a First Amendment issue, right?
Yeah, because how they were able to charge me supposedly with the injury by graffiti for the chalking is because although CPS is in that building and the government leases that building, they say because a trust fund owns the building and CPS only rents it, then my First Amendment doesn't apply there.
Interesting.
Yeah, so if it was, like I did the sidewalks out by the street now, that is covered by the First Amendment because that's publicly owned. But since
So were you arrested before for playing music out there on that sidewalk?
Yeah, Christian music. They don't like Christian music. It really drives them nuts. And that was disturbing the peace.
Okay, so I have some other questions because I don't remember how early you came in. Did you hear 2 people in there that were charged on DUI prior to you getting your turn?
No, I heard a little bit of the last guy saying, but to be honest with you, I wasn't really paying that much attention to it. If you remember right, you were in there. Well, if you were in there for people before me, then remember that cop took me out of the courtroom? He took me out of the courtroom and asked me if I had telemate in the jail, and I was like, yeah. And he said, well, then you can't be communicating with people in here. Leave it for telemate. And I don't know what the hell he's talking about. All I was doing was smiling. I wasn't communicating with anybody. So, I don't know what was going on with that. So, yeah, I was kind of a little bit confused and kind of wondering what the hell he was talking about as far as me communicating with you guys, because I wasn't. I mean, what was I doing?
That guy before you was about to go to jail.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I do remember they arrested him or whatnot, I believe.
So I don't know if they just didn't want you to hear what he was getting arrested for. That was my thought.
Oh, okay, maybe.
I don't know. Anyways, I was just kind of appalled at the way the judge shifted between the case before yours to your case. Her attitude, her demeanor, everything completely changed.
Yeah.
And
That's it.
and then her addressing the people in the audience, that one blew me away. I didn't even know what to say there. That was just, I mean,
I
it was
mean,
like
when they kicked Garth out, or are you talking about at the end?
I'm talking about at the end where she thanked us for all being so respectful. I mean, it was just like a slap in the face.
Yeah, well, I think like I can't remember. I talked to Melanie and Susan yesterday, so I kind of mixed up their stuff a little bit. But I think that she was it. It okay. You notice we got I believe it was a bigger courtroom, so more people would come there. I think it was Melanie who was saying that she thinks it was all set up. Basically, she was trying to, basically tell my supporters that they need to stop supporting me because I'm just a career criminal and
Oh,
that I don't deserve
absolutely.
to be supported.
I think that was absolutely the case, and she was trying to get the full record that you have on the record, so anybody requesting records, that's included.
Yeah, well, and that was, yeah, but the thing I thought was funny is Garth getting kicked out because he's been known to record court proceedings before. It was funny. But yeah, I think that yeah, she was trying to
Well,
endear herself to the. You could totally. I mean, I don't know if everybody
what's
could.
what's
Correct,
more
but you
most
could totally tell the
interesting though
fakeness.
is even though we're not allowed to record, we can go upstairs and pay for the recording.
Yeah, it's extortion.
So what does it matter what device it was recorded on?
Yeah, well, because they got to get their money.
Yep. How are you doing mentally after yesterday?
Yesterday I was doing pretty good. I think all the people showing up helped me a bit. This morning, not so much. I'm working through it a bit. Music helps out a bit, but it's expensive. Um, and we're kind of having money problems, so trying not to do it too much, but it helps a bit. So I decided to do a couple hours of it at least. Um, I don't know. Yesterday, I think because all the people were there supporting, I was focused on that, and I thought, I was actually in fairly high spirits because I wasn't really expecting much out of the court. I was kind of hoping that I'd get out, but I was kind of expecting she was just going to say "screw you." I mean, I could see that woman's hate for me, so I wasn't really expecting much.
I was
Um,
really shocked at the level of hate she had, not only for you, but it felt like for everybody in that room.
oh yeah, because she doesn't. That's I don't know. I don't know how to put it exactly, but that's how you know. Well, just to put it. I mean, the way I know how is that's how demons are. They don't like it. They have a problem with it. I mean, even I think even the other participants felt it. I had people actually tell me that yeah, they could first time they could actually see the demon, and it's funny because I see demons, and I've seen it from pretty much the get go. She likes to do this, smile while she's doing it, but yeah, Melanie said she's seen it, and I think Susan said she didn't see it specifically, but she felt it. Um, and it's just
There was a monitor in the way, in my view, but it was just disgusting to hear, almost like happy her voice as she was telling you she was not giving you what she wanted.
yeah, that's their weakness. That's they like to attack us. And that's it's not the easiest. I can tell you. It's hard. Um, at times, like there's one section in there I thought, is she actually going to give it to me? Um, and I think when she was talking about the bond, I think she said something to the effect of that, she felt that that would be appropriate, and I thought, oh, is she actually going
She's
to let me out on a
considering it.
bond?
Yeah, I thought the same thing, especially where the state didn't really say much other than request a bond. And I was like, here we go. They're going to give it to us, but then it's going to be such an extraordinary bond amount, it's not even going to be an option.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Do a $50,000 or $100,000 bond, something that's just stupid. Um, that's kind of what I was thinking. But yeah, nope. She decided, nope, just screw you totally.
So I almost wonder if, like, I don't know, maybe this could be a good thing in the long run. I mean, getting her on the record, showing her holding all of that previous stuff against you. I mean, eventually all this is going to come back out as it was all First Amendment, right? I would hope.
Well, and something I think was a little bit crazy came out of their thing yesterday too was that because I refused probation, that means I intend on committing a crime. Did you
Exactly.
catch that?
That was absurd.
I was like, what the heck? How does that? How do you make that logically work?
So we're gonna have a new Give Send Go link in the comments. Do we have a goal of what you need for your appeal to the higher court?
Well, I can just say, it's. I don't know. I think that we discussed a lot, like $10,000.
Okay.
I'm not sure how much penalties asking for in that because I'm not sure how much my truck's worth.
Okay.
And and the ongoing here, I want people to understand that it's expensive to be in jail. I spend a lot on food. Ramen is $1.09 a piece. And I don't eat the jail food. And I thought about just going fast. Moses fasted for 40 days. Maybe I could too. But my wife doesn't want me. And but just this phone call here is like $10. If it's a phone call that's not to 208, it's like almost 14, like 13 something. And this one's like $10. So it's it's it may not sound, some people want to say, well, $10 is kind of a bit for one phone call, but it may say, well, one phone call is not all that bad, but add that up, $70 a week just in phone calls. And that's if I just call someone. Everybody's got 208 numbers. If there's one California number that I call, but it charges like 14 something. 14, I don't know, 14 is some change, so almost $15. Which doesn't make any sense to me because nowhere else is there long distance anymore. But I guess in jail you have to pay long distance for long distance.
It's just an option for them to get you for more money, like you said before.
Yeah, and then then the visits they're for half an hour at $7.50, and then for the full hour it's $15. They do give you an hour free a week, and I try to stay within that. Like this week, I'm going to go above that because my daughter's birthday's today, and I can't be there, so I'm going to give her a call.
How old is she?
She's 8. She's turning 6. I mean, she's 6. I always tell her she's 6.
She does not believe you. I'm sure she gives you a hard time.
Yeah. Well, I'm giving her a hard time telling her all the time. No, Dad. But yeah. But yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard not being there for my kids. That's but
so what would you tell everybody else that's fighting in the courts? I mean, we've got so many other people that are still fighting. I mean, I looked at what happened yesterday with the number of people that showed up to support you and how the judge just kind of threw it in your face. I mean, we've got Sarah's court coming up. What do you think's going to happen there?
Sarah Brady?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that for one, that's one thing I've been trying to tell people, and they don't listen a lot. Is people think, oh well, Robert's used to court or to jail. I'm not. I'm absolutely not. I haven't been in jail for a long frickin' time. Not real jail. And that my previous record here in Idaho, other states aren't the same. Idaho incarcerates more people than any other state in the union, and the union has the largest incarceration rate of any nation in the world.
So on that topic right there, where do you get those statistics at that you're referencing?
Well, they're online. I think actually Ammon put them out.
Okay. Oh, that's right. I remember
Uh,
that. Okay. So
yeah, well, and I know I've I've checked several times, and as long as I've always, every time I've ever checked for 25 years, the United States has always had the highest incarceration rate of any nation. But the Idaho thing is something new to me, at least, and I believe that I'm pretty sure I got that from Ammon, but I could be wrong.
I remember one of his presentations did include something about that, and I'd like to go back and reference that. But so back to Sarah, what are your thoughts on Sarah's trial? I mean, after seeing the way you've been treated, Sarah, I don't mean to jinx you, so I'm sorry, but I don't see anything going well for her. I feel like
Well, I
they're
mean,
just going to throw the book at her because of how loud she's been and how public she's been.
well, and you also got to understand that like there's some things going in her benefit. For one, I don't think she's ever been charged with anything.
Right?
Um, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee, well, anywhere close to guarantee that she's going to be found not guilty. This is an Ada County jury. I think that in a lot of ways, Sarah has already paid pretty big punishment for such a stupid charge. Um, you know, I think she spent like, that's why I say that it costs a lot. Is I think she's already spent $15,000 or $20,000
Yeah.
on her defense. So I mean, for such a stupid little charge, of trespassing on bark, she's you can beat the charge, but you can't beat the ride type thing. Um, and so she's stood strong with that. And as far as consequences, when at the end, I don't know exactly. You never can tell because of these judges. And if the jury finds her guilty, I mean, you can never tell with that either. I mean, as you can see with my jury, even the judge said the prosecution proved the opposite of the elements of the crime, but they still found me guilty, and the judge still threw the book at me.
Right.
So I mean, that's the problem with the system, is that you don't know. I mean, like I was telling the cop there's a guy in here he strangled his wife out. Okay, originally it was attempted strangulation, and then they dropped it to just domestic violence, and then they dropped it to disturbing the peace. Now, I don't know his full story. I didn't read his paperwork, this, that, and the other, but he got 30 days and was out.
For strangling his wife.
That was it. Huh?
For strangling his wife.
Yeah. He got 30 days and he was out. And it was the same charge as me. And, when I told him what I was here for, he's like, holy shit, really? And then he told me, and he did it. He told me that he did it, but he didn't try to strangle her. He just grabbed her by the neck and threw her on the ground or something like that. And he was like, and I got 30 days. And I was like, 30 days, really? And, he's out. And, for them to go from, the unsupervised probation, which says an unsupervised probation should mean that, you're not a risk to the community, to max out on the charge a full 6 months, really. And then because I denied probation, that means that I plan on committing a new crime. That's kind of a stupid logic there, in my opinion. That doesn't make any sense. How about I don't want the state's thumb on me? How about that? But no, that's not what she says. She says it means that I intend on committing a new crime. Not at all.
I feel like she said so much from the bench yesterday that was, I mean, somehow it's got to be out of line, right?
You would think that judges have the highest immunity anywhere. Like we've been talking, different people have been talking about possibly going after some of these judges, especially ones that are separating families. I think that that's a good route to go. That maybe we should start, in the political realm at least, start going after these judges that don't honor the Constitution. And these judges, they basically, she can do whatever she wants. And there's such a high bar to even just get her kicked off the bench. That because of the immunity, and they have such a high immunity. That we, the best way to get rid of a judge may be either through the ballot box, voting a judge out, because the judges are appointed in. We never vote judges in; they're appointed and then they're confirmed by votes, at least to the best of my understanding. And or we can sue them through tort claims, and that raises their insurance rates. Therefore, they have a harder time getting a job, and or bar complaints. Um, you know, it's to me it seems a little bit silly that you can't just a judge violates the Constitution and doesn't follow the Constitution, and what do you have to do? You have to resort to getting a huge amount of people to take action. It's just.
So I know you can't see the group chats right now, but I just want to let you know the group chats are lighting up with multiple different ideas and suggestions on what we can do going forward to help and to put different forms of political pressure on these people that are negatively affecting your life. Um, so all of those discussions are happening, and I sometimes you have some really good ideas on different ways to protest outside of the typical let's stand on the sidewalk and play music or chalk. Um, what are your thoughts going forward on the most effective way to protest what's happening to you right now?
Well, I mean, to be quite honest with you, I think just protest and stop. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it is taking more risk, and but stand up for the First Amendment, because that's what they're attacking here. Yes, I'm the object of their attacks, but the ultimate goal isn't necessarily me. I'm just in the way of their goal. So they're trying to knock me down, and they've successfully done that for 6 months at this point. And I mean, unless something else comes out, God decides something else, then then maybe there'll be a difference. But they've knocked me down for 6 months. I mean, I don't know that
Okay, well,
start
I'm still trying
pushing
to get your
back.
voice out there, even though you're stuck in there. So I said I'm still trying to get your voice out there, even though you're stuck.
Yeah, but I mean, it's different through this recorded line. We know that they're listening, and that that, and there are certain things that that they will try to twist and to make it seem as if we're doing something vicious, or something. It's hard to like, I don't know, personally, like if I was out there, I'd challenge the jail, um, the the whole
Protesting
BS
at
that
the
you
jail.
can't.
Challenge it. Got it. Okay. Next.
Yeah, you can't demonstrate within the parking lot. That should be First Amendment covered. It's government property open to the public. I would think that Ryan Davison and Beck should be able to, as county commissioners, should be able to get rid of that rule or whatever that is that's saying that you can't demonstrate on Canyon County property or Ada County property. That's
right.
I don't know how that works. I have actually protested
it
here
applies
before.
at the jail, but not at the courthouse.
Yeah, it's an ordinance.
They're both technically county property, right?
Yes, but from my understanding, that this is like specifically for the
jail
sheriff's office. Well, I don't know if it's. I don't necessarily think it's the jail. I think it's the complex or whatever, not just the jail.
I'll have to look up the rule and mail you a copy so you can read it. Is that allowed?
Yeah, well, and somebody showed it to me previously, and I was like, well, I'll let them charge me then.
Right.
And that was when Scott Johnson was still here.
So
and now we
on the topic
got a
of
different
what
sheriff.
to charge you. That's another topic that's coming up a lot. How effective is it for all of us to just keep letting them charge us versus backing down? What are your thoughts there?
Well, I think that we need to do it in mass. That look at the protest that night. I think it's funny how they said that that the city of Boise and CDH was being nice and allowing us to stay on CDH property. Well, because there was 400 to 500 people there, so they wanted to be able to stop us, so they just didn't. Epperly's house. I don't know how many people were there exactly. I've heard anywhere down to 10 all the way up to 30 people. So the more people that do it, the less likely they are to even charge us. And I don't know. I don't know how effective it really, honestly, is when it comes down to it to be charged. I mean, look where I'm sitting right now. Look at how they've harshed speech just by nailing me, by maxing me out. Now people are afraid to even protest in the jail parking lot because it says no demonstrating.
Right.
That's BS. I mean, now you can't stop the jail operations from happening or people coming to see the sheriff and the sheriff's office. You can't stop the operations, but you should be able to protest. I mean, put a phone in your hand and videotape. I mean, you watch any First Amendment auditor. They'll give you all the what do you call that? The case law and stuff that you need to write down.
Do you have any suggestions of
being
First
able,
Amendment auditors that people can watch that you like to watch?
I like Audit the Audit. That one's really good because he actually audits other people's audits. Now I don't always agree with him, but I do find him, as far as rights, where you have rights and where you don't. But as far as laws are concerned versus rights, he's pretty accurate. I may not like what he has to say, but he's pretty accurate. And he's like critiquing people. So sometimes people get out there and they think something applies and it doesn't really. And he does really good research. I can't remember the other guy's name. I don't know. You can go on my YouTube channel and see the people that are on there, I guess.
Okay.
That I subscribe to their channels. And I don't, some of them, just so people know, some of them I like just because they're provocative. And some of them, is educating. And that's the thing, too, is that we need to educate people, law enforcement. Like when I left, I told the cop the same thing I just got done telling you about the guy that got 30 days. And I told him I think the First Amendment, has been outlawed in Idaho. And he said something to the effect, and at the time I took it as one way, but anyways, what he said was something to the effect of, I think that it's outlawed everywhere. And at the time I took it as, well, he's given up on it too. But now I wonder if he was just making an excuse for why I should be in jail. I don't know exactly what his intent was in saying that, but for a cop just to say that, I think it's illegal everywhere.
It's appalling that someone who has taken an oath to the Constitution, saying that out loud. That's appalling.
Yeah, well, and that he didn't. There's no reason for him to, Yeah, I don't know. We need to educate them better, and we need to make it so, And I got to say that, from my understanding, Boise PD and Ada County, the police officers, not the ones up top, but the ones on the ground, and I can't say this for 100% sure, but just from my connections, they protested arresting me. Pretty much, they refused to arrest me, and I know at least a few of them actually did because I was in contact with them and they didn't arrest me.
Right.
So I mean, we need some of that. It would be nice. Like one of the cops here asked, why are your people protesting the sheriff's office? Shouldn't they be protesting the court or maybe Diana Luciano's house? And the thing is that the sheriff here is holding a political prisoner, me, and he agreed. But he just said that the sheriff has to do what the judge says. That's not true. I mean, unless how can the judicial branch what is it? Judicial branch overload the executive branch's sheriff, right?
Correct. No.
So, and he's an elected official, right? So is he? That's one thing people don't get is that our different branches of government aren't supposed to work in harmony to take away our rights.
No, there's supposed to be a check and balance. So I mean.
Yeah, they're supposed to check each other to stop rights from being violated. And at the sheriff's department, and this sheriff specifically, if he wanted to honor his oath, there's ways that he could balance this, that he could check this, and not allow political prisoners in his jail. Well, now, will he? Probably not.
I think we've talked about this before. I know that there is quite a few officers that have, I think, been watching publicly with what's going on with you, but I mean, they need to get creative within their own ranks about ways that they can stop. Okay, let me think about how I'm going to phrase this. They can get creative on taking in inmates on stupid charges. I mean, what if they just start making the wait take a really long time if somebody gets arrested for disturbing the peace for something stupid?
Yeah, or I think, yeah, I think we have discussed it before, and yeah, they can release people just like Kenyon County did for
Right.
the supposed COVID. They let a bunch of people go, saying that they weren't a big enough risk to society, and the risk to them or whatnot of getting COVID while in jail was greater than the risk they posed to society, so they had to release them. Okay, it's BS. That judge's logic. I don't know anybody who would really think that that logic holds water. That because I refuse probation, that means I intend on committing a crime. That doesn't seem very logical to me.
Well,
Um,
I think just looking at the two previous cases right in front of yours, and I don't know how much I can say without you getting in trouble in there, but I don't care. So there was one case where the guy was on probation violations for DUI, and you were clear across the room, so I know you could not smell this gentleman. Um, but this guy reeked of alcohol. He's in there for probation violations for his DUI because he was drinking and got caught drinking, and he came into the courtroom drunk. Like everybody could smell him. And the judge was like, "Oh, well, it sounds like you're committed to rehabilitation, so we're just going to let you go. And you can um, arrange time later or whatever." And I was blown away because, I mean, the bailiff could have smelt him. It was that bad.
so they let that guy go.
That was the guy that looked like he'd just been in a fight, wearing like the multicolored sweatshirt literally right before you. His hair was all
Yeah.
kind of messy and matted in a bun, and he walked out of the courtroom.
Oh, okay. I seen it looked like they were going to arrest him because I seen like 5 cops around him, but they didn't end up arresting him.
No.
I guess they just let him go. That's she's seen me, and all of her hatred just turned towards me, and she completely forgot about fucking justice or anything. So yeah, I mean, I guess.
I couldn't even believe. I'm sitting 2 rows behind the guy, and he's not saying much, and his lawyer's saying he's trying to go to rehab and whatever, and I, I'm like, yeah, rehab's working out really well. The dude's drunk right now. How can how can this even be happening? And the other guy that was in there on a DUI, it was his second offense. He ran into a parked car, and she only gave him 2 days because she wanted to make sure he was home with his family for Christmas.
Yeah, well, and I think we've talked about this before too. Have you seen how pedophiles are treated in courts? They're treated as if they're the victims, and that they're the ones that are the ones that are harmed, and they get hardly anything as far as punishment. So I mean, it's house divided is against itself can't last. So they're not divided against other demons. They're not divided against other bad things. They want people to continue to do bad things, but better not be protesting. You know, I'm just such an evil person because I, protest and then I deny them being able to just, get me whenever they want through their probation. So that automatically means that I'm trying to commit a new crime. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's getting down to the point where we need the Christians to stand up and start doing stuff, and that have faith in the Heavenly Father versus these courts and with these people, and they need to start standing. Consequences to be damned, and take their share of the that Jesus was Jesus. I believe it was Jesus who said, they hated me, so they will hate you. And to be of this world is for the world to. This world will love you if you're of this world, but if you're of me, this world will hate you. Uh, and so that those people are of this world. So is she. So of course she likes them because they're of this world. You know, I don't know, maybe it's, you know, me being a little bit too high and mighty or whatever you want to call it, but I'm not of this world. So she hates me, as Jesus was hated. And I think that, you know, there's those sit back and do nothing Christians that I think are, you know, facing some problems. You know, you sit back and you do nothing. You know, I mean, there's no greater love than to lay down your life for your friends. And how many Christians are really doing that? You know, and because, you know, love as I loved you. Um, you know, how are you loving? Are you loving the way you want him to love you? You know, I mean, you know, I know People's Rights is a non-religious group in general, but uh, you know, I would say just, you know, outside of People's Rights, you know, talking to just Christians, why aren't you standing taller? Why aren't you standing higher? You know, why are you worried about the consequences that are going to happen? Do you have faith in God or not? You know, and
It's a really good point.
I got to say,
That's
with this, people at the court may remember, you know, because I thought about this again today too, that, you know, I asked for this in a way, because I asked God, I said, hey, you know, the prayer before we went to court, I said, you know, please take this cup from me. You know, kind of did the same prayer Jesus did. You know, I try to imitate him as much as I can. And said, please take this cup from me. I don't want it. But if I have to, please give me the strength to drink it to the last drop. And I don't know, the last drop may be a full 6 months, I guess. Um, you know, but you know, that's where the Christian people. You know, am I really? I can't be the most Christian person out there, right? So why is anybody else standing up for their brothers? Why is anybody else laying down their life? I mean, don't get me wrong, there are people, but why so
but
few?
they're so
You know,
few
I
and
mean,
far between. Yeah, that's I think a really good point that we saw. I mean, even at the beginning of the pandemic, the churches were the first ones to stand down and shut their doors.
yeah, it's because the deceiver has infiltrated all of them. You know, I mean, and look at I.
You have 1 minute remaining for this call.
Okay.
Yeah, we got 1 minute.
Okay, you don't have your phone on do not, whatever, right?
I do have it still on that. Do you want to call back or do you want to try another night?
Yeah, I'll just call back real quick.
You'll call back real quick? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Goodbye.
Let's see if I can get the dogs to be quiet, guys. Just 1 second.
Thank you for using Telmix.
Hello?
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
Okay, but kind of a little tangent I was on is, you know, where are the Christians at? You know, that you know, people, the logical thing is to sit down and shut up and let the tyrants do their thing and hope that they don't hit you. But that's not the Christian thing to do. You know, we should be standing, and you know, when it comes down to it, we shouldn't really care about the consequences in this world. You know, I mean, that's the Christian thing to do, and there's no way I'm the strongest Christian around. And there are other people doing. Oh yeah, that's what I was offering. There are other people doing it, to a point, but why isn't there more? Why isn't there more people standing? I mean, look at. I don't even believe in the religion of Mormonism. I don't believe in it, or LSD, or whatever you want to call it. I don't believe in that religion. But Ammon has shown more stout than almost all the Baptists and the Protestants, the Pentecostals, all those people I know. Why can't they stand? Well, because they might lose their job. Is that worldly or is that otherworldly? I don't know. And he says that the harvesters will be few, but I don't know. I guess I'm kind of prodding the Christians out there to, pray about it. Don't just go off of me. Don't let your pride get to you. Talk to God. Is sitting back doing nothing, not helping out your fellow man? Is that really what he wants to do? What he wants you to do? Are you sitting back on Romans 13? The government, you should just believe it.
It's really interesting how you bring up that topic and how, like, watching everybody on the outside decide where their line in the sand is and what they're willing to do and if they're willing to get arrested. It does bring a definite different view on how do you talk to the people that are trying to give an excuse as to why they're not willing to do the right thing? Or is it doing the right thing or not doing the right thing by getting arrested,
Well, it's kind of a little thorn in my craw or whatnot when people say that, say it that way, that they're not willing to get arrested. It's more, are you willing to stand? And it doesn't matter if you get arrested. I mean, I know it sounds pretty close, and it sounds like it's the same thing, but in my mind, it's not the same thing.
Right.
In my mind, it's one is focusing on the arrest, that you're willing to get arrested. Now, I don't want to get arrested. I never wanted to get arrested. I didn't think at all that for what we did, that I'm in here for, that we get arrested for that. I mean, that we were well within the law as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just about, it's about willing to stand no matter if you get arrested or not. And, yes, you can anticipate that it's possible I'll be arrested for it, but I've anticipated being arrested a lot more than I've actually been arrested.
Right. So let's pause you right there and let's think back to the years leading up to the signing of the Declaration of Independence. What do you think the conversations were with our founding fathers when they were deciding what they were and what they were not going to do? What do you think those conversations were like? Because obviously back then it was much more wild, wild west you literally were risking death and getting shot or imprisonment for getting caught.
Well, I could tell you the revolution would have happened without beer. So there's a lot more drunk talk going on. And, I think that people sometimes when they drink, they let their inhibitions come down. And yes, even Christians drink. And, they let their inhibitions come down some and they can talk more freely. And in this day and age, people are so afraid to say anything in anybody's company that they may not know or not completely know.
Because we might offend them.
I think that their discussions back then, way before it ever got violent, were a hell of a lot more violent than what our discussions are. And if you notice, when they came after the gunpowder, it wasn't everybody didn't sit around and say, well, we need to get the full story. We need to figure out what's going on. Is Robert a huge criminal? He does have charges going clear back to 1997. And don't, and can't do any investigation back then because, you have to actually go somewhere to do the investigation. You can't just get on the internet and click, and, oh, okay, well, he had a few charges back then, but then, for 15 years, he really didn't have crap. One DUI. A dog got out. Really? Or my cow got out. Really? That's this huge career criminal that they're talking about in court today. You can do the research now, and people don't. And, our First Amendment is gone. And what are you going to do? Our rights protect, I guess, the best way to say that is our rights protected under the First Amendment are gone. If you need evidence of that, then you should have showed up to my court date. Or to anybody else's court date. You should show up to Sarah's court date. You should show up to Ammon Bundy's court date.
That was another interesting thing, is that I noticed that Ammon has court on the 23rd, and you had court on the 23rd. And I thought to myself, man, between you and Ammon, you both have a lot of supporters. And could you imagine the number of people, if you both had court on the same day, that would have showed up to the courthouse that day?
Yeah, well, but they canceled mine, remember?
I know they canceled yours, and that was my point.
Okay.
Like, I think her canceling your court date was politically motivated to not have you at the courthouse the same day as Ammon.
Well, possibly, but I think what she said in court, what it was, is that because I appealed it, she can't modify the sentence.
I understand that, but she already heard you on the 19th.
Yeah.
So why didn't she cancel the 19th?
I don't know. I bet if you asked her, it's because she hadn't done her research. And now, she researched a way to get out.
Oh, thankfully she did. Thankfully she got out of having hundreds of people at the courthouse on the same day as another political prisoner, because, I mean, that could have been a disastrous day for her if everybody showed up and decided not to remain peaceful in her courtroom.
Yeah, well, was it before her too?
I don't know if it's before her too, but that.
Oh yeah. No, you told me that they switched judges.
Oh yeah, that's right. She has Ammon that day. She probably looked at that and was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't handle them back to back. We can't do this. We need to change it." I bet that's what it was. And I think I think it would be funny as hell if everybody showed up to Ammon's court day dressed like you. Just maybe with a name tag on that says Robert Jones. And
that would be great too. But even if you don't want to show up like that, show up for Ammon, because remember what this.
Obviously, this judge is influenced by numbers in her courtroom. So, yeah, please, since you can't,
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that this is his trespassing charge for standing up for a baby being stolen from their family.
Yeah.
And so, I encourage people to show up for Ammon too. If you were planning on going to my court date the 23rd, and now that's been canceled, I don't know what time Ammon's is. You know what time his is?
I don't, but I'm going to find out right now.
Okay, and show up to Ammon's instead. Show him the support, and be there to stand for a baby again. Stand for the right to stand for a baby. Masks suck, and it was it is bigger than just the mask. It's been trying to legislate by committee, but still. This is a baby that he stood up for. And he wasn't trespassing. He was standing for a baby. They didn't ask him to leave. To the best of my knowledge, they have video of the whole thing, and they never told him to leave. They told him back up. They still arrested him. It was all a show. To try to get rid of Ammon from there so that they could transfer that baby to a foster home. A healthy baby. Healthy baby. To a foster home. And, while they're taking the baby from their healthy parents by saying that the baby's severely malnourished and needs to be in the hospital. Bullshit. Stand for Ammon and continue to stand for these people who are putting themselves at risk. Even though, Ammon's not in jail now, but remember, Ammon did 2 years of really, really hard time. I believe that they said that either just about or over half the time that he was in solitary. He's a lot more than I am currently. So, and he's still standing. That kind of gives me, because, I'm human, I'm weak, and, I think sometimes, why am I doing this? Nobody else seems to be standing, it's always Robert out there. Why am I doing this? Why is Ammon doing it? He did 2 years to be completely acquitted. So
right, and he continues to stand up and get
charged with stupid shit because they're just bound to, and determined to attack him and drain his resources.
Yeah, so it's, that's the thing is that it's, I hope people see this as bigger than just me. That yes, I'm an example in it, but that it's bigger than just me. It's that it's the First Amendment. It's being able to stand up for your neighbor without being put in jail. Like they did with Ammon, and Wendy and Sarah Brady and Casey Whalen, Garth Gaylord, Lori.
Susan.
Let's not forget those people too. They were just trying to
Susan,
access
Maggie,
justice.
Eva. I mean, all of them.
Yeah, and and Eva's been charged several times. I don't think Maggie's been charged yet, but she stands all the time. I mean, she's the one who's actually still, and she doesn't like me, giving her attaboys or whatever, but I'm going to do it anyways. She still is protesting lockdown Luciano's house, to the best of my knowledge. She's still protesting the courthouse, and she comes to the jail for some of the protests at the jail too. So, she's continuing to try to do her best. Let's give her a hand, let's stand up for these people. Let's stand up for the First Amendment, or we're not going to have it. And if we don't have the First Amendment, really, are any of the rest of them, does that even matter? I mean, what can you do when they come for your gun?
There's a reason the Founding Fathers put that one first.
Well, it's because the other one that they had first didn't work out or something. I can't remember. There's, people say that, but it's not.
There's some fun history behind it if somebody wants to go and look it up. But
yeah, but yeah, they without the first, you got to remember that there's 5 of them in there first, and freedom of speech and the right to redress your government is only one of them, and they're attacking the entire First Amendment. The press, they're attacking. I can't remember his name, and Misty at the Capitol building, because they weren't approved by the Capitol approved people. They couldn't sit in a chair for media.
Yeah, basically they weren't approved by the governor, so they couldn't sit in the press box.
Well, yeah, the government's underling. But
well, I mean, they say it's not the governor, but
yeah.
But let's be real. It's become pretty clear over the last 2 years. We no longer have a governor in Idaho. We have a king, and we have the king's men, and then we have the minions that work beneath the king in the castle, also known as the Capitol. So.
Yeah, well, and then you have, then there's freedom of religion. That's being attacked on just about every front. I mean, to be honest with you anymore, it's being used to the quote-unquote freedom of religion is being used more to attack religion than it is to protect religion. And I don't believe in religion specifically. I'm spiritual, but I believe that people have the right to practice their religion as they see fit, as long as they're not harming anybody. Just, like, I don't agree with Ammon's religion, and he probably doesn't agree with mine. But, he has the right to do that, and he's still a good man, and he's not hurting anybody with it. So that's his prerogative. Then what? Okay, you got the right to redress grievance. You got that's gone. You got the freedom of religion. That's gone. You got press. That's gone. What are the other two? I can't remember the other two. Isn't there 5 in the First Amendment? I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, now I'm going to draw a blank. Okay, so you've got freedom of religion, freedom of the press, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly.
Oh, assembly. There you go. Okay. Yeah, that's not illegal. That's illegal now too. All they have to do is call it unlawful. Okay, and then there's one more. I think there's 5 total.
This is embarrassing, but I'm going to look it up.
Redress of grievance, which is, you use assembly for redress of grievance. But anyways, yeah. I can't think of it right now, but yeah, the 5th one. But yeah, it's all gone. And what good is the second if you don't have the first?
No, you've got it all. You've got it all.
Okay.
Establishment of religion and prohibiting its free exercise, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, assembly, and the right to petition the government for a redress of grievances.
Yeah.
And then
So everything's gone.
I think
And
I think
you
it's
know,
really important though to remember that our government is, I mean, the Constitution and the founding of our country is the first time um, that we have fought for less control. I mean, if you look at,
well, and something I want to point out real quick that I just thought of again that I was going to say earlier, but I forgot is, okay, people are Romans 13, Romans 13. Okay, the servant isn't above the master. And in our form of government, we are the masters. So you're actually going against the Bible when you allow our servants to place themselves above us. So, and what do they call them? Public servants? Public servants telling us what to do, ruling over us. Is that what a servant should never be put over his master, but we're putting our over the master all the time?
yep,
Because we are the kings, we are the queens, we are the royalty in this thing. But instead, when you go to jury trial, who do you get? You get a bunch of people that work for the servants, that are supposed to be servants. Those are the people that are judging you. Servants, the people that are supposed to serve you, are judging you. And you should have kings and queens in there in judgment. Your peers. A servant is not your peer. Just that little tidbit in there. Sorry, we can go on.
no, you're good. The biggest thing, like, I keep going back to is everything that you've learned, or that most people have learned about our form of government, is completely ass backwards and wrong.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
and
when you actually go back and start reading the documents, not what you learned in history class or government class, we've been taught how the government works, the way the government wants us to understand it, not the way that it was written or intended to be. And so it's really hard for people to understand that you need to unlearn everything that you grew up thinking was true and right, because you've been lied to.
Well,
your
just
rights
go back
don't
to
come from the government, they come from your creator. And so the government can't take away what you were born with.
Well, they're not supposed to be able to. But when it comes down to it, the reality is they've taken pretty much every right away that you were born with, and they use force to do it. And through complacency,
because
we the people have allowed it. And I think that in my opinion, just that Joe Snow isn't held as responsible, in my opinion, as somebody who's supposed to believe in Christ, is supposed to be, quote unquote, religious. They should be, we should hold ourselves to a higher standard. What if Jesus didn't come here? He didn't come here to put us in balance. He came here to free us. Jesus was all about freedom. Jesus was the ultimate activist. And we call ourselves Christians, which is supposed to mean Christ-like. Are we really Christ-like, or are we, Judas-like? And people, oh, well, that's, whatever. 30 pieces of silver to betray Jesus.
Well, shit, now people are doing it for free cell phones and free housing and free health care.
That's what I'm saying. How much are they getting paid now to betray their Christian lifestyle? And to betray that. It's sometimes it's more expensive, but in a lot of ways it's cheaper, because not only are they're being turned into slaves to betray him.
Well, people don't even look at it as slavery anymore, though. They look at it as they're entitled to it from the government, because they pay into the system or whatever. So they're entitled to that welfare.
Well, even with that, that's a deception by the deceiver. In my opinion, that's a great deception by the deceiver, because when it comes down to it, when you have entitlements, government entitlements, you are becoming a slave. They are robbing your soul. I have seen it. Just go to welfare areas and watch those people. See those people. See the spirit within them. You'll see that they are being robbed of their spirit. They're being robbed of what God put them here for. And people will get mad at them, but they are, like, in my opinion, one of the biggest victims in this whole thing is people who take that welfare check and are afraid of losing that check. And not even just welfare checks. It's even checks from businesses and stuff. That when it comes down to it, is that did God say, "Oh, you need to go out and get a good job"? No, that's not what He said. But anyways, yeah, it's from a worldly view, I think that quite honestly, from a worldly view, sit down, shut up, move to Montana, move to Mexico. Um, don't stand for rights because it's only going to cause you personally more harm, with a very unlikely outcome of you making it. But if you believe yourself to be a Christian, what the hell are you doing? I mean, really, what are you doing? Are you sacrificing your soul for $18 an hour or $50 an hour? Or how much per hour are you willing to sell your soul for? And, your productiveness. Just saying, I mean, we can, talk shit about Judas. Um, you know, he repented when he seen that they were condemning Christ. It was too late. He tried to give the money back because he was like, hey, whoops, I made a mistake. He tried to repent and it was too late. And he, died and suffered for that. Um, when will it be too late for us? I mean, I don't know. And hey, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I'm no saint. I'm not saying that I'm perfect in any way, shape, or form. I should have stood longer. I should have stood more. I should have stood earlier. I knew the system was corrupt, and what did I do? I did the worldly thing. I hid out. So, I mean, I'm just trying to help others not make the exact same mistake I did. But it's all in your choice. You have to talk to the Father and figure out, is it worth my soul? Because as hard as this jail time is, it's getting out of it definitely isn't worth my soul.
Yeah.
All the apostles were either imprisoned, exiled, or murdered by governments.
People really aren't ready to accept that because, liberty or death, unless it means jail time. It's
yeah. Well, people will say God sanctioned the king. No, He did not. When he said that the people asked for a king because everybody else had a king. They wanted a king. They needed this government. They didn't want just self-governing. They wanted a king. Like we're doing here in the United States. They want a king. They want a king. What did Jesus say? Or what did God tell? Was it Moses? I can't remember who it was exactly. But what did He tell them? Told them that they're not rejecting you. Don't be mad. They're not rejecting you. They're rejecting me. So by you looking for a king, looking for a ruler, you're rejecting Him. So, I mean, and don't believe me. Go to the Bible. Read it for yourself. Look up. Get on your. There's all sorts of kind of Bible apps and stuff now. Get on there and cross reference king, and look for when God's chosen people wanted a king. What did God say? When they wanted a ruler, what did God say? Don't believe me. Please don't believe me. Go look in the Bible.
right.
But anyway, sorry I rant a lot.
No,
I probably should get off here.
I'm running out of things to ask because I know there's not a lot happening inside jail. And
yeah, it's the same as yesterday. Except yesterday I went to court.
Yeah, yesterday you went to court.
And the letters thing, I appreciate people writing me. I am a little bit behind on writing people back. Just like I am getting to it. I'm going to write through. I ran out of envelopes. I was going to run out of envelopes, so now I got more envelopes. I got more envelopes coming, so I'm going to start writing people back to the best of my ability. And I appreciate the mail. And sometimes when we have these bigger discussions, sometimes they're better done through that. Just remember, I don't always remember everything I wrote you, so you might have to refresh my memory sometimes. But yeah.
Well, I appreciate you calling. I love hearing your perspective from somebody who is standing so strong and is currently living through the consequences of the actions that you and a lot of other people took that night, standing up, but you're the only one serving the consequences. It's always good to hear your perspective that you wouldn't I mean, I don't think there's been one time that I've talked to you that you've said you regret what you did. Um, in fact, I think as our conversations have gone on, you've gotten more solid in your stance and bolder in your.
Well, I have moments of weakness. There's times
I
when
think
I think,
everybody does, though. That's normal. But I think overall,
yeah,
just listening to you talk, you're getting more solid, and we need to stand stronger as a group than you were the night of the 8th when you did stand and you went to the smallest protest. And that night we had an amazing turnout, but it wasn't strong enough.
well, it was strong enough to stop them legislating by committee.
That's true. It wasn't
So,
strong enough at the location you were at because you got singled out. But
that night it was strong enough. It's just the following fell short later. I mean, we didn't have 400 people in the court.
right.
But still standing. But, and there was even few people at the actual trial when the jury would see it. Would that have made a difference? I don't know. But, standing when the only way you can actually make a difference in standing is if you stand all the time. Sometimes you won't. Sometimes you will. Just
I did want to let you know that there was actually more people out in the hallway that they wouldn't let into the courtroom yesterday too.
That's awesome.
I didn't get a good count because I wasn't the first one out there, but I talked to several people that said they weren't allowed in because it was full. So.
Okay, and I, don't get me wrong, I super appreciate all those people showing up, and they deserve, praise for that. They at least they're willing to show up and do something, even no matter what it is, it's something. I think if the military saying, some gave all gave some. I don't think all have given some, but all that came yesterday gave some, and
right.
that's if all gave some, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in.
Exactly. Yeah. No, 100%. I agree with that. That was the other thing I wanted to, mention is maybe next time when we do have so much overflow, I guess there was a flood of people that came in right before 2:30, and they did get slowed down quite a bit by security. So that's something to remember going forward. Like let's get there early enough that we can, if there's too many of us in the one courtroom, let's demand they set up another overflow room. We do it at the Capitol. Why not do it here?
Kind of in closing or whatnot. Just don't forget everybody else either. Ammon's court date's the 23rd. I'm not sure the other people's court dates, but I'm sure that they have them out there.
I'm trying to verify that, and I'm getting messages that now it's the 18th of January. So
okay.
We'll make sure to get a call out. So if you're in any of the group chats or on my channels, then you'll get an update as to when that court date is. It looks like I've been kicked off YouTube. Maybe it's time for another personality. I'm not sure yet. But I'll get that figured out here later tonight and figure out what's going on. But yeah, we'll just
all right. Well, thank you for everything you do too, helping me stay at least somewhat relevant while I'm sequestered away in their jails.
I feel like I'm not doing enough most days, but like you said before, if everybody gave some, we'd be 10 steps ahead of where we are. So I show up when I can, and I do as much as I can, and I hope that in the long run it makes an impact.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you too, and I hope you have a good night. Tell the daughter happy birthday when you talk to her. And do we want to do another one later this week?
Yeah, we could do it on Sunday or whatever again.
I think Sunday's Christmas.
Okay, yeah.
I think.
So
Sunday's Christmas. So Christmas, I want to let you talk to your family. Unless you really want to talk on Christmas, then we can work that out. Are they going to charge you extra to call on a holiday?
No, I don't think so. And if they do, I don't care at this point. But yeah, I mean, you're not taking up my Christmas at all. It's all, basically it's the other way around. I don't want to take up yours because, yeah, I'm just sitting in jail. I do have visits and stuff, but maybe talk to Melanie and
okay,
we
I'll
can figure that out.
And get it worked out. And who knows? Maybe we'll do a Christmas call and it will be everybody's Merry Christmas from us on Christmas.
All right, sounds good.
All right, we'll talk to you later. Have a good
All right,
night.
sounds good. You too.
Bye.
Goodbye.